We have our Kings what if of the day here with James Hammond. We got to give a big shout out to my main man, Jesse, because he had this one yesterday, and this is a good one. This is a good one. And I'll ask you, James, and there's follow-ups to the follow-up to the follow-up to the follow-up in this situation. Hell of a scenario, hell of a question. James, what if the Kings drafted Jaden Ivey instead of Keegan Murray? Playoff team?
No.
Mm.
No, I mean, in all honesty, Keegan Murray hit over 200 3-pointers. He holds the record for the most 3-pointers by a rookie in NBA history.
Mm-hmm.
And those 3-pointers mattered. Having a stretch 4 that can shoot like that absolutely matters. And while Jaden Ivey is like incredibly talented,
mm-hmm.
he's also a duplicate piece in Sacramento. He is not as good as De'Aaron Fox. There could come a point years from now where he might ascend to a point of where De'Aaron Fox is. But I'd even make the case that with Cade Cunningham coming back in Detroit, I don't think Ivey will ever get that opportunity to be the type of player that maybe he could be somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But he's fun. He's athletic. He does all these things. He just was too far away for the Sacramento Kings. Like as a player, the stats don't buy into the stats as being more important than the actual functional basketball. And I think that Keegan was the right player at the right time. And my complaint was never about Keegan Murray. It was that I believed you should have been able to get something more than just Keegan. And like, I'm not going to like backpedal here and say that I was harsh on Monty McNair on draft night that night. I came on with you guys right after the pick, and it wasn't that Keegan Murray was the wrong player, because I think he was 100% the right piece instead of Jaden Ivey. It was only that they should have been able to move from 4 to 5 and get what you needed more pieces. And so, like, would this team look different if, a Sadiq Bey was traded, or, if they would have got one of these other players in a swap or a future draft pick when, like those things matter and you got to maximize stuff. And maybe the deal was never there. Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe
it
they
feels
understood.
like that would have been there, because from everything that I was reading and hearing at the time, Detroit wanted Jaden Ivey bad. And if you could play the game a little bit and kind of send your fillers out there, and hey, Monty could have got in KC's DM and be like, hey, I think we're leaning towards Jaden Ivey. I would have reported it, and then it would have been out there, Kings leaning towards Jaden Ivey, and you can put the sense of urgency on Detroit to say, hey, if we want Jaden Ivey, we need to trade with the Kings to get it done. When it's John Lynch and the Bears all over again, they were never going to take Jaden Ivey. They were going to take Keegan Murray the whole time. The Kings is who I'm talking about. Then, to your point, you could get something out of that whole scenario being at number 4 if you would have played it a little bit differently. Possibly. We don't even know if Detroit would have bid on that.
Well, there were other teams that were interested in moving to number 4 to draft Jaden Ivey. I mean, and that was around the draft. Now,
the killer with that, though, is you might lose Keegan. If you really want Keegan, if Keegan is who you really wanted the whole time, if you trade 7 with Portland, you might lose Keegan.
Oh, no, almost assuredly. Yeah. I mean, Keegan Murray still was going to be a top 6, 7 player, like no matter what, no matter whether the Kings took him or not. I just think, like right now he's a really, really good player. And the Kings love Keegan Murray. Like everything that I know of them, like they believe he's going to be a big time, like an all-star level player without any question. They believe that like both the Murray twins, they're late bloomers and that they have a lot more growth and their bodies will, are like malleable, that they can like really work with them to kind of create the type of player you want. So Kings are going to have to make a decision. Is Keegan Murray your small forward or is your power forward? And I know forwards are interchangeable in the NBA at this point, but like there could come a point where Keegan can't really play the 3, that he's only a 4. And you kind of have to choose your path. If you're the Kings, you want to lean him down, you want to bulk him up. Like, are your summer workouts on, like, again, strength training to make him into a power forward that can rebound better, or and can go mix it up in the post and again, like, work on his post game, or are you going to work on his lateral agility and really focus on making him into a 3, lean him down? And we'll see how he develops, but as of right now, he's a ball player, and that's all that matters. And Jaden Ivey could not have had the impact on the 2022, 2023 Sacramento Kings that Keegan Murray did.
I agree with you 100%. No shade to Jaden Ivey. It's just about where the Kings needed the production from. They didn't necessarily need it from where Jaden Ivey probably would have been playing, and they got that type of production from Keegan Murray, which was essential to what they were trying to do. Now here's where the curveballs come. Pause. Here's where that's where the curveballs come. What if the Kings would have listened to Kenny Caraway and drafted Shaedon Sharpe? Do you think they make the playoffs with Shaedon Sharpe there?
No. I don't. Again, I think Shaedon Sharpe has a ton of talent. I think Shaedon Sharpe could be, again, when we redraft this draft 4 years from now, he could be a better player than a lot of players taken ahead of him. But he was way, way too green. His experience level was way behind. You got to remember that we're talking about like a 18, 19-year-old Shaedon Sharpe with very little college experience versus a 2-year versus a 2-year basic starter in Keegan Murray, but also a 22-year-old, an old sophomore. So that's a big difference in just like maturity level and everything else. Like, again, Shaedon Sharpe has incredible potential, but it's not always about that. And at some point you have to turn like potential into production. And if you can't, that's always going to be the question. Can you, like, not only can you put up stats, because again, Jaden Ivey averaged 16.8 points per game or something like that. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's something around there. He was really good, but does his style of play, does his actions on the court lead to wins? And if it's about winning, maybe you can wait it out and Jaden Ivey could be like really good, but I just don't know where he would have fit, especially with a player like De'Aaron Fox already on the team.
What do you guys think the story is after the Kings season? If, like, obviously we're saying if they don't draft Keegan, they're not making playoffs. Because if they don't make playoffs, Mike Brown's probably not coach of the year. I'm assuming Sabonis and Fox don't make All-Star, All-Pro. Well, you can probably say if they're not playing well or winning games, he's not sixth man of the year. Like, I feel like it's just everything's just completely shifted if they don't take Keegan.
I agree.
Because you said too, because I remember you saying before the season, like if they don't make the playoffs this year, like this is going to be like a longer drought. We might see it to like 20 or whatever.
Absolutely. I think it's changed. If they didn't make the playoffs this year, I would think it would change the course of what this franchise would do. I think if they didn't make it this past year, they would have looked at, all right, it's time to quit like fighting for the playoffs and maybe tear this thing down and try a different approach. I thought that what was on the table. And at that point, remember, I was saying 17 would turn to 22 real quick because you can tear it all down and start from scratch. And Keegan being here and playing as well as he did and being an integral part in this team making the playoffs, it's invaluable in my opinion. I don't even know if you would have the same feeling or excitement, say if you drafted Jaden Ivey and Jaden Ivey looks really good as a rookie, but you don't make the playoffs again, you tear it down, you say, we're going to build around Jaden Ivey. Like, that's not even, I don't even think that's exciting. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not even exciting. It's just like, damn, we're that far away from what we're trying to do this upcoming, with this team in the upcoming years. And yeah, that the Keegan being here and then making the playoffs was everything.
I think it's more complex than that too, because I think people need to remember that Monty McNair didn't get his contract extension until January.
Absolutely.
And so like, if this thing didn't work, like we're in danger zone again, not only danger zone, but we're like we're in the range of history repeating itself. Like again and again and again, this team does the same exact thing. They hire a GM. He doesn't usually get to hire his own coach. And then when he does get to hire his own coach, he's not around to see it through.
Right.
And so some other person has to come in and absorb this coach that wasn't part of his plan. I mean, like it's happened multiple times here. And it's just a repetitive thing that a cycle that they needed to break. So I think like by finding lightning in a bottle here in Sacramento, and it wasn't by accident. I mean, they did an excellent job as trading for Kevin Huerter, signing Malik Monk. Even the Trey Lyles move ends up being like this secret, I mean, like really quiet, but really, really good like play for the Kings. Like all of these little pieces that they did worked out. And so I'd even say this too, if they don't draft Keegan and if they're stuck in the same exact like perpetual cycle again, Harrison Barnes doesn't come back this offseason. That I guarantee you, like he doesn't come back this offseason.
Yeah.
So now what you're looking for is not only do you have a matching piece in De'Aaron Fox and Jaden Ivey, but you also have these other issues where you literally don't have any forwards at all. And can you convince a guy like Sasha Vezenkov to come over from Europe to play for a losing team? Again, a team that's on their 17th
I'll just stay here and try and win a championship in the Euro League or whatever.
Well, yeah, but you can even say like Monty McNair is the one who traded for him and wanted him. Would that even be would he be an afterthought? Would it be something that someone else that was running the team would be like, yeah, I'm just not really that interested in bringing that piece over.
Yeah.
So like these things have a way of being like having like a domino effect. And it's something that, when I bring up when we talk about like the Michael Malone thing, like the ripple in the pond, how far it goes, or, we talk about, one of the biggest what ifs ever. What if the bubble never happens? Right? If the bubble never happens, Bogdan Bogdanovic probably doesn't leave. Vlade Divac doesn't get fired. Like all of these things happen, and you have to look at how they affect the long-term future of the team. And like it's a big one as far as like the Keegan Murray draft pick. But the key to the Keegan Murray draft pick is that Monty McNair was right. And that Keegan Murray is really good, and that he was able to step in and be a functioning starter for 80 games that played 30 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Like you don't just find those guys on trees, especially if you're the Sacramento Kings. It was a home run in what he does. And you hope that he gets better, and you hope that he becomes like an 18 and then 21 or 22 point per game scorer. And all these things happen for him. But the initial impact is that you got the most NBA ready player in the draft. He showed up and he was NBA ready, and he was really good, and he hit a bunch of 3-pointers, and he helped your offense be great. And you have the number 1 rated offense. Your GM gets an extension. Your savvy veteran small forward decides to stay around for another 3 years. You're able to bring it back, positivity, light the beam. Trey Lyles comes back. Like all these things happen. And can you point to one thing? Part of it is the Keegan Murray draft pick.
Is he the most important draft pick over the last 16 years? I know Fox is probably the best, but is he the most important given how much it tied together?
I mean, maybe, but I would.
It's either him or Fox.
Yeah, not like putting them together, or putting them against each other.
Real quick, I want to hear your answer on this one, both of you guys, real quick, because we're running low on time. And I got in the notes, I got my draft years mixed up. I said the Kings were 1 ping pong ball away from getting the number 1 pick. I think that was Cade Cunningham's draft, where they were 1 number or something away from getting the number 1 pick. But still, if the Kings draft Paolo Banchero, do they get to the playoffs?
Maybe. I mean, maybe. So, like, Paolo's really, really good. And, the question is, could him and Sabonis coexist?
He's not a great 3-point shooter right now. And that's where Keegan may have him at. He's a great shot creator, but he doesn't shoot the 3 ball. And Keegan obviously had the greatest rookie 3-point shooting season of all time.
Yeah, but he's also a great passer and a very good rebounder and a better position defender than people give him credit for. Like, I like Banchero's game. I just wonder if it would be like really, really crowded with three conventional non 3-point shooters. But I definitely think you pull Sabonis off the court and leave Paolo on there to run some of the offensive sets. You could have done it.
Quite possibly.
I think they could have made it. I think Paolo's a good enough player to where you can still make it work, even if he doesn't truly fit. Like, he's not the 3-point shooter past, like James said, as Keegan Murray, but I think he's good enough to where you could find a way to use his ability and make it work.
Yeah. The world may never know.